Hello, hello, and welcome back to Midlife Mojo. I'm Lisa, and today's episode is about growth edges, accountability, and showing up even when you're tempted to back out. As of this week, I'm 9 weeks away from my first bodybuilding competition. I'm competing in the fit model division, which is brand new this year. And this week, I had a major moment that pushed me way, way outside of my comfort zone. And it involved stage lights, 5-inch heels, and a tiny two-piece in a very public gym. Welcome to Midlife Mojo, the podcast all about how to be fit and flourish in your 50s, with me, your host with over 25 years of experience in the health, fitness, and wellness industry, Lisa Dupree. We'll be talking about all the things that support living life to the fullest. Let's dive in. So let's talk about what it means to bump into your growth edges and how this experience has helped me rewrite an old story I didn't even realize I was carrying. Now, as a coach myself and someone who's been in the fitness, health, and exercise science world for decades, you might wonder why I'd hire a coach. And here's the thing, just because I know a lot about health and fitness and weight loss doesn't mean I know everything. And this is especially true when it comes to something like this brand new fit model division in a physique competition. It's a whole different world than health and fitness. You know, it has its own language. There are specific judging criteria. There are specific expectations on how you look when you're on stage. And I didn't want to have to figure it out the hard way. You know, it's a lot of investment in time and money and energy. And so I wanted to set myself up for success. And also, this is a big one too, is I needed accountability. I wish that I was that person that would always show up for myself with the same consistency and energy that I show up for others. But the truth is, I don't. I just don't. I'm just as tempted as anyone else to take the easier route, to skip doing the hard thing. And I'm really, really good at convincing myself that good enough is good enough, right? And so having a coach has really helped keep me focused. It helps keep me honest. And it makes it way harder to back out when something feels tough or when I'm just not feeling like doing it. You know, I've committed, there's somebody holding me accountable. And it's honestly one of the very best investments that I've made in myself. And so part of getting prepared is practicing posing. And so I have to associate that with like choreography because I've danced for so many years. So I'm kind of put the posing routine down as in my mind as choreography. And so I needed to practice. And so let me set the scene for you. I had my first one-on-one posing session this week with a professional posing coach. And it was on an actual stage in the middle of a full gym, full on daylight, in the tiniest posing suit that I can imagine wearing in public, and 5-inch platform heels. You know, it was, it was a lot. I knew I was going to be nervous going into this. I knew that I was going to be hesitant, and I just was not feeling confident at all about it. I asked my daughter to come with me for moral support. And of course she did because she's amazing and grounded and like always in my corner. And so I knew I need someone there who is supportive and who gets me. And she totally does because she's awesome. Um, and and this is even when I've spent most of my life performing. Like I have been dancing in some form or fashion since I was 4 years old. I've taught in front of large lecture halls full of students, and I've spoken to rooms full of professionals at conferences. So I'm no stranger to a stage or an audience, but this is different. It was vulnerable, really, really vulnerable. It wasn't about performing choreography with a group or giving a well-prepared lecture. This was about me being fully seen, like my body, flaws and all, in a space where I did not feel like an expert. And that's when I realized I could still pull on my strengths. I could lean into that performance energy, take a deep breath, and just show up anyway. And in coaching, we talk about something called a growth edge. Your growth edge is a place where discomfort meets potential. And it's that scary but thrilling place in your comfort zone where growth, change, and real transformation happen. The stage, the gym, with people working out after work, the tiny two-piece, all of that was my growth edge this week. And at the start of the session, I was self-conscious, I was stiff, and honestly, I was just trying not to run and go hide back in the bathroom stall. But by the end, I was moving with more ease, way more confidence. Dare I say, even a little swagger. My coach was very supportive. He was giving me great prompts, cheering me on. My daughter was there, smiling, encouraging, and I was learning. I was growing. In that moment, I am growing. And, at some point, I just didn't even think about my full butt being on display anymore. And so, you know, something else that was really cool was at the end of the session, the posing coach invited my daughter to hop up on stage and try a few poses herself, and she absolutely killed it. She is so strong, so beautiful. And now she's seriously thinking about doing a competition. Like, it just gives me chills because here's what I realized. This is what it's about. This is where my learning really amped up is, one of the biggest reasons I'm doing this is because I want to be a kick-ass role model for her, for every woman watching, to show that it's not too late to try something new, that we don't have to shrink or slow down in midlife. And at the same time, I'm rewriting my own internal script. The old one that says, don't draw too much attention to yourself. It's bad to draw attention to yourself. The old one that says, ooh, you better tone it down, right? Kind of fly under the radar. The old one that says, you're too old to be doing this. This is not something that people in their 50s do. And not anymore, right? That script, those thoughts don't serve me. Those beliefs don't serve me. And so maybe you have a version of that too. One that it's time to either edit or toss out completely. And so my question for you is, where might you be bumping up against some of your growth edges? Is there something that you've been avoiding because it feels uncomfortable, but deep down, it could lead to growth? So maybe this week, take a moment to take one small step toward it. And I'll be back next week for more behind the scenes, mindset shifts, and probably more sparkle heels. Until then, here's to showing up, pushing limits, and keeping your mojo rising.